The knife gleamed under the dim restaurant lights for only a fraction of a second before Amara Okafor moved. She didn't think, didn't calculate. Her body simply launched forward as the blade arced toward the elderly woman in the jade silk hanbok. Metal met flesh with a sickening sound, and white-hot pain exploded across Amara's shoulder as she collided with the attacker, sending them both crashing into a table. Chaos erupted, chairs scattered, porcelain shattered, someone screamed. Amara hit the floor hard, her vision swimming with spots of light and shadow. Through the haze she saw polished shoes converging around her, heard shouting in rapid Korean she couldn't follow. Strong hands gripped the attacker, wrenching him away. Moory hands reached for her, gentler but urgent. "Don't move her," a male voice commanded in English, crisp and cold as winter steel. "Call Dr. Hwang, now." Amara's breath came in ragged gasps. The pain in her shoulder was spreading, hot and liquid. She tried to focus on the elderly woman, now kneeling beside her despite protests from the men in black suits surrounding them. "Foolish girl," the woman said softly in accented English, her weathered hand pressing something against Amara's wound. "Brave, foolish girl, why would you do this?" "Couldn't let him," Amara's words dissolved into a groan. "Hush now, you are safe, I am safe because of you." The woman's eyes were dark and sharp, missing nothing. "What is your name?" Amara Okafor. "I am Mrs. Choi Minji, and now Amara Okafor, you are my responsibility." The world tilted sideways, and darkness swallowed her whole. When consciousness returned, it came in pieces. Softness beneath her, the scent of jasmine and expensive wood, distant voices speaking in hushed Korean. Amara's eyes fluttered open to find herself in a bedroom that could have graced a luxury magazine, all cream silk and dark mahogany, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a private garden. This was not a hospital. "You're awake," the male voice from before, closer now. Amara turned her head carefully, every muscle protesting, to see a man in his early 30s standing near the door. He was tall, sharply dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than 3 months of her wages. His face was all severe angles, handsome in an intimidating way, with eyes that assessed her like a chess master studying the board. "How do you feel?" "Like I got stabbed." Amara tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "Because you did, the blade went deep, but Dr. Hwang is the best. He stitched you up here." The man moved closer, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed but somehow coiled with potential energy. "I'm Kang Doyun. Mrs. Choi is my mother." "Where am I?" "Our family home. You've been unconscious for 18 hours. Amara's mind struggled to process this. She should be in a hospital. She should file a police report. She needed to call her roommate, her manager at the restaurant. "I need my phone. I need to." "Your phone is gone." Doyun's tone allowed no argument. "Your digital footprint has been scrubbed. As far as the world knows, you didn't work last night. You were never at that restaurant." Ice flooded Amara's veins. "What, you can't just—" "I can, and I did." He sat in the chair beside her bed, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, his gaze intense. "That man who attacked my mother, he was Gwangju Serpent. Do you know what that means?" Amara shook her head, though dread was already pooling in her stomach. "It means he was sent by people who don't forgive interference, people who tie up loose ends. The moment you stepped between that knife and my mother, you became a loose end, Amara Okafor." He let that sink in. "They know your face, they saw you, and they will come for you unless we make it impossible." "This is insane," Amara's voice cracked. "I'm just a waitress, I'm nobody." "You were nobody." Doyun's expression didn't change. "Now you're the woman who saved Choi Minji's life. In our world that debt is absolute, it's binding, and it makes you a target." The door opened, and Mrs. Choi entered, moving with the grace of someone who had never questioned their authority. She carried a tea service on a lacquered tray, and set it on the bedside table with practiced ease. "Stop frightening her, Doyun," she said mildly, pouring tea into delicate cups. "The girl has been through enough. She needs to understand the situation, mother." "And she will, with kindness, not terror." Mrs. Choi offered Amara a cup, her smile gentle but her eyes still sharp as broken glass. "Drink, it will help with the pain." Amara accepted the cup with trembling hands, the warmth seeping into her palms. The tea was fragrant, slightly bitter, soothing. "I don't understand any of this. Who are you people?" Mrs. Choi and Doyun exchanged a glance, some wordless communication passing between them. Finally, Mrs. Choi spoke. My family controls significant business interests in Seoul and beyond, some legitimate, some, she paused delicately, less so. We maintain order in our territories, we protect our own, and we honor our debts. You saved my life at great cost to yourself. This creates an obligation I cannot ignore. I don't want anything from you, Amara said quickly. I just want to go home. Home to what? Doyun's voice was gentle now, which somehow made it worse. Your tiny apartment in Itaewon that you share with 2 other women, your waitressing job that pays barely enough for rent and remittances to Nigeria, home to a life where the Gwangju serpents can find you in a single afternoon. Each word landed like a stone, because he was right. Amara's life in Seoul had always been precarious, balanced on the edge of expired visas and under-the-table work. She had nothing and no one who could protect her from organized criminals. So what are you saying, she whispered, that I'm trapped here? I'm saying we're offering you protection, Mrs. Choi said firmly, but protection of this magnitude requires formality, structure, a reason that even the Gwangju serpents cannot challenge. Amara looked between them, her heart beginning to hammer. What kind of formality? Doyun stood, straightening his jacket, his face unreadable. Marriage, to me, it's the only way to bring you fully into the family, to give you a name and status that makes you untouchable. The teacup slipped from Amara's fingers, shattering against the hardwood floor. For 3 days, Amara barely left the bedroom. A woman named Doyun attended to her needs, bringing meals on trays, helping her to the bathroom, changing her bandages with efficient gentleness. Doyun spoke little English, and Amara's Korean was limited to restaurant phrases, so they communicated in gestures and careful smiles. Amara spent the hours staring at the garden, watching birds flit between sculpted trees, her mind spinning in circles. Marriage, to a man she didn't know, to enter a world of criminals and violence. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But where would she run to? On the 4th day, Mrs. Choi visited again, this time with photo albums. She sat on the edge of the bed and opened one, revealing pictures of a younger Doyun, perhaps 7 or 8, grinning gap-toothed at the camera. He was a sweet boy, Mrs. Choi said softly, always protecting the smaller children, even when it got him into trouble. His father wanted him hard, ruthless, but Doyun has always had a soft heart beneath the armor he wears. Amara studied the photo, trying to reconcile the smiling child with the intimidating man who had upended her life. Why are you showing me this? Because I need you to understand, this marriage we propose, it is not romantic, but it is not cruel either. Doyun will respect you, protect you, give you freedom within the bounds of safety. Mrs. Choi turned to look at her directly. I am asking you to trust us, Amara. I know we are strangers. I know this world is not yours, but sometimes trust is the only bridge across impossibility. And if I say no? Mrs. Choi's expression grew sad. Then we will do our best to hide you, to give you money and papers and send you far away, but I cannot guarantee your safety. The serpents have long memories and longer reach, and truthfully, she hesitated, I do not wish to lose you. You risked everything for someone you didn't know. That kind of courage, that kind of heart, it is rare, precious. I would like to keep it close. Tears burned in Amara's eyes. This isn't fair. No, Mrs. Choi agreed gently. It is not fair at all. But life so rarely is, especially for women like us, who must be clever and strong in worlds built to break us. That evening, Doyun came again. He knocked this time before entering, carrying a leather portfolio under one arm. I have documents for you to review, he said, setting the portfolio on the bedside table. Contracts. Terms, if you agree to this arrangement, I want everything clear between us. No surprises, no hidden clauses. Amara stared at the portfolio. You're treating this like a business deal. It is a business deal, an alliance, but that doesn't mean it has to be cold. Doyun sat in his usual chair, and for the first time Amara saw something other than controlled authority in his face. Weariness, perhaps, or loneliness. I don't expect you to love me, Amara. I don't expect affection or intimacy. You'll have your own rooms, your own life within the family compound. All I ask is that you play the role in public. Stand beside me at events. Let the world believe this marriage is real. And what do I get? Safety, absolute protection from the serpents and anyone else who might threaten you. Financial security, not just for you but for your family in Nigeria. I've already arranged for monthly transfers to your mother's account, enough that your siblings can finish school, that your parents can stop working themselves to exhaustion. He paused. And freedom within reason. You'll learn Korean, learn self-defense, learn to navigate this world. After 5 years, if you want to leave, I'll arrange a quiet divorce. New identity, new life, anywhere you want to go. Amara's throat tightened. You've already sent money to my mother. Yes, and I've had someone contact her with a story that you've taken a new position with a wealthy family, that you're safe and will write when you can. She was relieved, happy for you. You had no right. I had every right. You saved my mother's life. Everything I have, everything I am exists because of her. Your debt to her is matched by mine to you. Doyun's voice softened. I know this is overwhelming, I know you're afraid. But I promise you, Amara, I will never hurt you, never force you. This arrangement is about protection, not possession. Amara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the choice crushing down on her. Return to her old life and risk death. Accept this bizarre offer and lose herself entirely. Or perhaps, whispered a small voice in the back of her mind, perhaps find a new self, stronger and stranger than before. I need time to think. Of course, take the night, read the contracts. Tomorrow give me your answer. After he left, Amara opened the portfolio with shaking hands. The documents were in both Korean and English, meticulously detailed. Financial arrangements, living conditions, expectations and boundaries. A prenuptial agreement that was remarkably fair, giving her claim to assets, ensuring her security even if the marriage dissolved. At the bottom of the stack was a handwritten note in elegant script. You are not alone in this fear, we will face it together, KD. Amara pressed the note to her chest and let herself cry for the first time since the knife had found her flesh. She said yes the next morning. The wedding happened with shocking speed. Within a week, Amara found herself standing in a private room of the family compound, being dressed in a traditional hanbok so heavy with embroidery that she could barely move. The dress was red and gold, the colors of celebration and prosperity. It felt like a costume for a role she hadn't auditioned for. Doyun worked quietly, adjusting the layers, pinning Amara's hair into an elaborate style studded with ornamental pins. In the mirror, Amara barely recognized herself. Her shoulder still ached beneath the silk, a constant reminder of how she'd arrived at this impossible moment. Mrs. Choi entered, resplendent in her own hanbok of deep purple. She carried a small wooden box, which she opened to reveal a necklace of dark green jade. This belonged to my grandmother and her mother before her, Mrs. Choi said, fastening it around Amara's neck. The jade was cool against her skin. It is said to protect the wearer from harm and bring wisdom in difficult times. You will need both. I don't know if I can do this, Amara whispered. You can, you already have. The hard part was saying yes, everything after is simply walking forward. Mrs. Choi's hands rested on Amara's shoulders, meeting her eyes in the mirror. Remember, child, strength is not the absence of fear. It is fear transformed into action. You have already proven you possess this strength. Now you must learn to wield it deliberately. The ceremony was small, held in the compound's courtyard beneath paper lanterns that swayed in the evening breeze. No more than 30 people attended, all of them family or close associates, all of them studying Amara with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. Doyun waited at the altar, dressed in a traditional black dopo, his face an unreadable mask. When Amara reached his side, he offered his hand. His grip was warm, steady, grounding. The officiant spoke in Korean, the words washing over Amara like music from another world. She'd been coached on her responses, simple phrases she'd practiced until they felt natural on her tongue. When it came time to exchange bows, she mirrored Doyun's movements, feeling the weight of dozens of eyes judging every gesture. Then it was done, she was married. She was Kang Amara now, though the name felt like borrowed clothes that didn't quite fit. The reception was held in the main house, a sprawling traditional structure with sliding doors and elegant minimalism. Food appeared on low tables, course after course of delicacies Amara couldn't name. She sat beside Doyun on cushions, hyper-aware of his presence, of the way he subtly positioned himself between her and the rest of the room. An older woman with silver hair and a face like carved ice approached their table. She bowed perfunctorily. So this is the Nigerian girl, she said in English, her tone making it clear this was not a compliment. How convenient that your heroics led to such an advantageous marriage. Aunt Hannah, Doyun's voice held warning. I'm simply curious, nephew. Tell me, Amara, what did you hope to gain by throwing yourself in front of that knife? Fame, money, a visa. Amara's hands clenched in her lap. The entire room had gone quiet, everyone watching this exchange. She could feel the test in it, the trap being laid. Accept the insult and appear weak. Respond angrily and confirm their suspicions that she was an outsider, someone who didn't belong. I hope to gain nothing, Amara said quietly, meeting Aunt Hannah's gaze. I saw someone in danger, I reacted. If I'd stopped to calculate the benefits, your sister would be dead. Aunt Hannah's eyes narrowed. How very noble. And now you find yourself married to one of the most powerful men in Seoul, quite a reward for instinct. I find myself trapped in a world I don't understand, married to a stranger, cut off from everything I knew because saving a life made me a target. Amara's voice rose despite herself. If you think this is a reward, your imagination is lacking. Gasps rippled through the room. Doyun's hand moved to rest on Amara's knee beneath the table, a gentle pressure, but he didn't contradict her. Aunt Hannah stared at her for a long moment, then surprisingly smiled. Perhaps there is spine beneath that foreign softness after all. We shall see. She bowed again and moved away. That was dangerous, Doyun murmured, his mouth near Amara's ear. Was I supposed to just take it? No, his hand squeezed her knee once before withdrawing. You were supposed to do exactly what you did, show them you cannot be easily intimidated, but be careful. Aunt Hannah is not someone to make an enemy of lightly. Too late for that, I think. Perhaps you've earned her respect. With her it's difficult to tell the difference. As the evening wore on, more family members approached, some offering cold congratulations, others openly skeptical. Amara felt like an exhibit at a museum, something foreign and potentially dangerous that everyone wanted to examine from a safe distance. Through it all, Doyun remained close, a steady presence at her side. He introduced her to key family members, warned her away from others with subtle signals. When her strength began to flag, her shoulder throbbing with exhaustion, he stood and announced it was time to retire. They walked together through lamplit corridors to the private wing of the house. Doyun stopped before a set of double doors. These are your rooms, he said, opening them to reveal a beautiful suite decorated in soft greys and whites. Mine are across the hall. There's a connecting door if you need anything, but it locks from your side. You control when it opens. Amara stepped inside, overwhelmed by the luxury, the thoughtfulness. A bookshelf already held novels in English. A desk by the window was stocked with art supplies, though she'd never mentioned she liked to draw. Someone had been paying attention to details she didn't remember sharing. Thank you, she said softly. Doyun lingered in the doorway. You did well tonight, I know it was difficult. Everyone hates me. Not everyone, and hate is often just fear dressed in different clothes. Give them time, let them see who you truly are. He paused as if weighing his next words carefully. I meant what I said in the contracts, Amara. This is not a prison. It may feel like one now, but I promise it won't always. How can you promise that? Because I know what it's like to feel trapped by duty, by expectation, and I know that freedom is not just physical. It's mental, emotional. I will help you find it if you let me. Before Amara could respond, he bowed slightly and left, the door clicking shut softly behind him. Alone in her new room, still wearing the heavy hanbok, Amara sank onto the bed and let the reality of her situation wash over her. She was married. She was part of a criminal family. She was Kang Amara now, whoever that was supposed to be. Outside her window, the city lights of Seoul glittered like fallen stars. Somewhere out there was her old apartment, her old life, the version of herself who had woken up that morning, expecting nothing more dramatic than difficult customers and sore feet. That Amara was gone. This Amara, this new person, would have to be stronger, smarter, more resilient, would have to learn to navigate a world of unspoken rules and deadly consequences. She touched the jade necklace at her throat, thinking of Mrs. Choi's words. Strength is fear transformed into action. Okay, Amara whispered to her reflection in the dark window. Let's see what I can transform into. The next morning arrived too early, sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. Amara woke disoriented, her shoulder aching before the memories crashed back. The wedding, the reception, her new life. A knock at the door made her sit up, wincing. Come in. Soyun entered with a breakfast tray, setting it on the bedside table with a warm smile. Behind her came another woman, younger, in sleek business attire. Good morning, Mrs. Kang, the younger woman said in perfect English. I'm Kim Yuna, I'll be your instructor. Instructor in what? Everything: Korean language, both formal and informal, family history, self-defense, etiquette, how to navigate social situations, how to protect yourself if needed. Yuna's smile was friendly but professional. Mr. Kang has arranged for intensive training. If you're going to survive in this world, you need to understand it fully. That sounds exhausting. It will be, but I promise to make it as painless as possible. We'll start this afternoon after you've had time to rest and recover from yesterday. For now, eat, build your strength. Yuna paused at the door. And Mrs. Kang, welcome to the family. Not everyone here will be kind, but some of us are genuinely glad you're here. After she left, Amara picked at the breakfast, traditional Korean dishes she was slowly learning to identify. Rice, soup, banchan side dishes arranged with artistic care. Everything in this new life was beautiful and frightening in equal measure. A soft knock at the connecting door. Amara, are you awake? Doyun's voice. She hesitated, then called, Yes, come in. He entered, still wearing sleep clothes, hair slightly mussed, looking more human and less intimidating than usual. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit by a truck made of silk and expectations. A smile ghosted across his face. That's remarkably accurate. I came to see if you'd like to walk the garden with me. It's peaceful in the morning before the house fully wakes. The garden was indeed peaceful, a carefully cultivated sanctuary of stone paths, small ponds and precisely pruned trees. Morning mist clung to the ground, giving everything a dreamlike quality. They walked in silence for a while, Amara absorbing the beauty, Doyun seemingly content to let her process. Why are you really doing this? Amara finally asked. The marriage, I mean. Your mother said it was to protect me, but there must be something in it for you too, for your family. Doyun was quiet for so long that Amara thought he might not answer. Then, you're right, there is mutual benefit. The Gwangju serpents have been challenging our territory for months, testing boundaries, looking for weakness. By taking you under our protection, by making such a public gesture of strength and honor, we send a message. We protect our own at all costs. Even a stranger who showed bravery becomes family. He paused by a pond, watching koi circle beneath the surface. But that's the strategic answer. The personal answer is more complicated. Tell me anyway. He glanced at her, something vulnerable in his expression. I'm tired, Amara, tired of violence, tired of making decisions that weigh lives against profits. My father built this empire on fear and ruthlessness, and when he died I inherited that legacy. But I want, he trailed off, searching for words. I want to believe there's still room for honor in this world, for genuine loyalty. When you threw yourself in front of that knife without thinking, without knowing who my mother was or what reward might come, it reminded me that such things exist. I suppose I want to protect that. To keep one pure thing safe in all this corruption. Amara absorbed this, seeing him clearly for the first time, not just the crime boss but the man exhausted by his own power. I'm not pure, Doyun. I'm just a person who made an impulsive choice. Maybe, but impulsive goodness is rarer than you think. They continued walking, and Amara found herself explaining her own story. Growing up in Lagos, the struggle to save enough money to come to Seoul, chasing a dream of better opportunities. The reality of being an undocumented worker, always looking over her shoulder. The loneliness of being so far from home, of sending money back each month and pretending everything was fine in her brief phone calls. My mother thinks I have a good job with a respectable family, Amara said, which I suppose is technically true now, just not in the way she imagines. You miss them every day, but I couldn't give them what they needed from Lagos. Too many people, not enough opportunities. Here at least my work meant something. And now, Doyun asked, what will your work be here? It was a good question. Amara had been so focused on survival that she hadn't thought about purpose. I don't know yet, but I need something. I can't just be a decorative wife at family functions. Then we'll find you something. This family has legitimate businesses too. Art galleries, restaurants, import-export companies. You could work anywhere you'd like, learn any trade, or you could forge your own path entirely. He smiled slightly. I meant what I said, Amara. This may have started as a strategic arrangement, but that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We can build something real here if we choose to. Before Amara could respond, Doyun's phone buzzed urgently. His expression darkened as he read the message. What is it? Nothing you need to worry about yet. Go inside, rest. Continue with Yuna's lessons this afternoon. I have business to attend to. He was already moving, the momentary vulnerability replaced by cold authority. Amara watched him stride away, back rigid, and felt the walls between them rise again. Whatever moment of connection they'd shared was gone, swallowed by the realities of his world. Their world, she corrected herself. For better or worse, it was her world now too. The weeks blurred together in a haze of intensive learning. Yuna proved to be an excellent but demanding teacher. 4 hours each morning were dedicated to Korean language, starting with basic phrases and rapidly progressing to complex sentence structures. Afternoons meant self-defense training in the compound's private gym, where a grim-faced instructor named Park taught her how to block punches, escape holds, and use everyday objects as weapons. In our world, Park explained during one particularly brutal session, threats can come from anywhere, a business dinner, a charity gala, you must always be ready. Evenings were for cultural education. Yuna taught her the intricate rules of Korean etiquette, how to bow properly for different situations, which honorifics to use with various family members, how to read the subtle social cues that meant everything in high-context interactions. "You're doing well," Yuna said one evening as they reviewed family genealogy. "Your accent is improving and you're starting to understand the unspoken rules. Mrs. Choi is pleased." "And Doyun?" Amara asked before she could stop herself. Yuna's expression grew careful. "Mr. Kang is difficult to read, but I've seen him watching you during family dinners. He notices every small victory you achieve." Amara didn't know what to do with that information. Her relationship with Doyun had settled into a strange pattern. They saw each other daily at formal meals, exchanged polite conversation, maintained the fiction of their marriage for the family. But the vulnerability he'd shown that morning in the garden never reappeared. He was cordial, respectful, and utterly distant. At night, alone in her beautiful rooms, Amara sometimes heard him moving in his own suite across the hall. Once she'd stood by the connecting door, hand on the lock, wondering what would happen if she opened it. But fear and pride kept her frozen, and eventually she'd returned to bed. The first true test came during a family dinner 6 weeks after the wedding. The entire extended family gathered in the main dining room, over 50 people arranged by importance and relationship. Amara had learned enough by then to understand the seating arrangements, to know that her position beside Doyun at the head table was both an honor and a target. Aunt Hana sat nearby, flanked by her 2 sons Jinwoo and Taehyung. Throughout the meal, Amara felt their eyes on her, assessing, judging. When the formal eating concluded and conversation began flowing more freely, Jinwoo leaned forward. "Sister-in-law," he said, the title dripping with irony, "you've been with us for over a month now. How are you finding family life?" "It's an adjustment," Amara replied carefully in Korean, pleased when her pronunciation came out smooth. "But I'm grateful for everyone's patience as I learn." "So humble," Taehyung joined in. "Tell me, what exactly do you contribute to this family besides your dramatic entrance?" The room quieted, even the servers froze. Doyun's hand tightened around his chopsticks, but before he could speak, Mrs. Choi's voice cut through the tension. "She contributes loyalty and courage, which are apparently virtues you boys have forgotten the value of." "With respect, Aunt," Jinwoo persisted, "courage and loyalty are proven over time, not in a single moment. How do we know this? Newcomer can be trusted. She has no ties to our world, no understanding of our ways. What's to stop her from betraying us at the first opportunity?" Amara felt heat rising in her face, anger mixing with hurt, but she forced herself to breathe, to think. This was another test, maybe the most important one yet. "You're right," she said clearly, meeting Jinwoo's eyes. "I have no ties to your world. I didn't choose this life. I chose to save a woman from being murdered, and that choice led me here. If that makes me untrustworthy in your eyes, I can't change your mind with words." She stood, feeling every gaze in the room fix on her. Doyun tensed, but she continued. "But I will say this, I understand what it means to protect family. I sent money home every month, money I could barely afford because my family needed it. I worked jobs that made me invisible, that stripped me of dignity, to give my siblings a chance at education. I am loyal to those I love and I honor my debts. Mrs. Choi saved me from certain death by bringing me here. Doyun gave me protection when I had nowhere else to turn. That creates obligation." She bowed slightly toward Mrs. Choi, then Doyun. "I may not be Korean, I may not understand all your traditions yet, but I know what it means to fight for the people who matter, and like it or not, this family matters to me now." The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Mrs. Choi began to clap, slow and deliberate. Others joined in, tentatively at first, then with more enthusiasm. Even Aunt Hana nodded approvingly. Jinwoo, however, looked furious. Pretty speech, but words are easy, actions prove loyalty, perhaps we should test. Enough, Doyun's voice was soft but cut like a blade. You've had your moment, cousin. You've questioned my wife's integrity and found her answer more than adequate. If you continue this line of conversation, we'll discuss your own contributions to the family. And I promise that conversation will not go well for you. The threat hung in the air, undeniable. Jinwoo's face darkened, but he bowed stiffly and said no more. After dinner, Doyun found Amara in the garden, staring at the koi pond. She heard his footsteps but didn't turn. That was impressive, he said, stopping beside her. You disarmed them completely. Did I? Amara's voice was tired, because it felt like I just painted a larger target on my back. You did both, but the target was already there, Amara. You just showed them it won't be easy to hit. He was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry I didn't intervene sooner. I wanted to see how you'd handle it on your own. Another test, then. Everything is a test in this family. You know that by now. He moved closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth. But for what it's worth, you passed with distinction. Even Aunt Hana was impressed, and she's impressed by approximately nothing. Amara finally turned to look at him. In the moonlight, his features softened, the harsh lines of authority giving way to something gentler. Why do you let them speak to me that way? You're the head of this family. You could shut it down immediately. I could, but that would make you weak in their eyes, a leader's pet that needs constant protection. By letting you defend yourself, by showing them you can hold your own, I give you real power. It's a harder path, but it's the only one that leads to genuine respect. You could have warned me. You're right, I should have. He hesitated. I'm not accustomed to considering someone else's feelings in these situations. It's always been about strategy, about positioning. But you're not just a strategic asset, Amara, you're a person, and I'm sorry for treating you as less than that. The apology surprised her. Doyun didn't seem like someone who apologized often or easily. Thank you. I mean it, this arrangement, this marriage, it's not what either of us would have chosen, but we're in it together, and I'd like, he trailed off, searching for words, I'd like for us to be allies, maybe even friends if that's possible. Amara considered this. Friendship with Doyun felt both appealing and dangerous. She'd caught herself noticing things about him lately, the way his eyes softened when he spoke to his mother, the careful way he handled fragile things, the exhaustion he tried to hide after long days managing family business. These were observations that went beyond strategic alliance into something more personal, more complicated. I'd like that too, she said finally. But friendship requires honesty, Doyun. You can't keep treating me like a chess piece you're protecting while hiding the actual game being played. Fair enough. He pulled out his phone, pulled up a news article and handed it to her. The man who attacked my mother, they found his body 3 days ago. The Gwangju serpents killed him for failing, but before he died he talked. Gave them names, details, they know about you, about our marriage, and they're not happy about it. Ice settled in Amara's stomach. What does that mean? It means they see our union as a provocation, a statement that we're not intimidated by their power, which, to be clear, we're not, but it also means they'll be looking for ways to strike back, to prove we're not untouchable. His jaw tightened. I've increased security around the compound. You're not to leave without armed escort, and if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you come find me immediately. You should have told me this before dinner, before I stood up and gave that speech about loyalty and family. Would it have changed what you said? Amara thought about it, then shook her head. No, but I would have been more afraid saying it. Exactly, fear makes us hesitant. Hesitation gets us killed. Doyun turned to face her fully, his expression intense. I need you to understand something, Amara. You're not just playing at being part of this family. You are part of it now with all the danger that entails. The serpents won't care that you're innocent, that you never wanted this life. They'll use you to hurt us if they can. Then teach me, Amara said, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. Stop protecting me from information. Stop deciding what I can handle. Teach me how this world works, all of it, the legitimate businesses and the criminal ones, the allies and the enemies, everything. If I'm going to survive here, I need to understand the full picture. Doyun studied her for a long moment, something like approval in his eyes. All right, starting tomorrow you'll sit in on family business meetings. You'll learn the empire's structure, how we make money, how we maintain power. It won't be pleasant, some of what we do. He paused. It may change how you see us, how you see me. I already know you're criminals, Doyun. Knowing the details won't make it more true. Perhaps. Or perhaps specifics matter more than you think. He moved toward the house, then stopped. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. I know that's a selfish thing to say given the circumstances, but it's true. You've changed something in this house, in me. I'm not sure what yet, but I feel it. He left before Amara could respond, leaving her alone with the Choi and her swirling thoughts. True to his word, Doyun began including her in family business the next day. She sat through meetings in his office where men in expensive suits discussed protection rackets, gambling operations, and loan enforcement with the same casual efficiency others might use planning a dinner party. She learned that the family controlled 3 nightclubs, 2 luxury hotels, and a chain of high-end restaurants, all legitimate fronts that also served for money laundering. She met Lee Minyu, Doyun's second-in-command, a man with cold eyes and a friendly smile who managed the family's security operations, a euphemism for the enforcers who kept territory secure and rivals afraid. Minyu was polite to her but clearly skeptical, his every glance assessing whether she was an asset or a liability. Mrs. Kang, he said during one meeting, with respect, why is she here? Because I want her to understand our operations fully, Doyun replied, his tone allowing no argument. She's family. She has a right to know how we protect what's ours. And if she decides to talk, if she goes to the authorities, then we'll deal with it, but I don't believe that will happen. Doyun's eyes met Amara's across the table. My wife understands loyalty, and she understands that betraying this family would mean betraying herself. It was true, Amara realized with a chill. She was complicit now. Every meeting she attended, every operation she learned about, bound her more tightly to the family's fate. There was no walking away innocent. The weeks continued, each day bringing new revelations. She learned that Mrs. Choi, despite her grandmother appearance, was the family's chief negotiator, the one who settled disputes and forged alliances with other organizations. She learned that Aunt Hana managed their legal businesses with brilliant ruthlessness, turning legitimate profits that dwarfed the criminal enterprises. And she learned that Doyun, for all his cold authority, was trying to shift the family away from violence. He'd been negotiating with the Gwangju serpents for months, trying to establish clear territory boundaries, to create peace through mutual benefit rather than fear. My father believed in domination, he told her one evening in his office, both of them working late over financial reports. Every rival had to be crushed, every challenge met with overwhelming force. It worked, but it also meant constant war. I want something different, sustainable, a balance where everyone profits and no one needs to die. But the serpents don't want balance. No, they see any negotiation as weakness. They want what we have and they're willing to kill for it. He rubbed his eyes tiredly. Which means eventually I'll have to give them the war they're asking for, and people will die, maybe people I care about. The vulnerability in that admission made Amara's heart ache. She stood, moving around the desk to where he sat, and tentatively placed a hand on his shoulder. He tensed at the contact, then slowly relaxed. You're not your father, she said quietly. Wanting peace doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, wisdom feels a lot like cowardice. It's not, trust me, I've seen real cowardice. Men who hit women because they can, bosses who steal wages from desperate workers, people who look away when someone needs help. You're not that, you're someone trying to find a better path in an impossible situation. She paused. That takes more courage than violence ever could. Doyun's hand came up to cover hers where it rested on his shoulder. How do you do that? Do what? Make me believe things could actually be different. Before Amara could answer, Doyun's phone erupted with urgent buzzing. He grabbed it, his expression darkening as he read. What is it? The serpents, they've made their move. They hit one of our protection clients, a restaurant in Gangnam, burned it to the ground, left a message. His voice was flat, controlled, but Amara could see the rage beneath. They're declaring war. The compound transformed overnight into a fortress. Armed guards appeared at every entrance. Family members who lived off-site were brought in for safety. Emergency meetings ran until dawn as strategy was debated and alliances were called upon. Amara felt the shift in everyone's demeanor. The polite veneer of civilization stripped away to reveal the hardened criminals beneath. Even Mrs. Choi seemed different, her gentle warmth replaced by steel determination. "This is what you wanted to see," Doyun said grimly as they watched trucks of weapons being unloaded in the compound's underground garage. "The reality of our world. Still think you can handle it?" "I don't have a choice." "You always have a choice, Amara. I could send you away right now. New identity, new country, you'd be safe." She looked at him, this man she'd been married to for 3 months but barely knew, and felt something crystallize inside her. "No, I'm staying. For better or worse, I made a commitment. I'm not running." Something flickered in Doyun's eyes, relief, gratitude, something deeper she couldn't name. "Then you need to be armed. Minu will train you to shoot, and you'll stay close to me or my mother at all times. If the serpents penetrate our defenses, you're a priority target." The next days were tense, everyone waiting for the next attack. It came not with violence but with information. Someone leaked details of the family's money laundering operations to a financial crimes investigator. Suddenly, their legitimate businesses were under scrutiny, accounts frozen, operations suspended. "It's brilliant," Aunt Hannah said bitterly during an emergency family meeting. "They can't beat us in direct combat, so they're trying to bleed us financially, force us to make mistakes." "How long can we sustain this?" Mrs. Choi asked. 3 months, maybe 4, before we have to start liquidating assets, Hannah replied. "But that would show weakness. Other families would smell blood in the water." "Then we don't wait 3 months, Doyun said quietly. "We end this now." The room fell silent. "What are you proposing?" Minu asked. "A meeting, face to face with the serpent leadership. Terms for peace or a clear understanding that we're prepared to destroy them utterly. No more half measures, no more waiting." Doyun's gaze swept the room. "We've been reactive, it's time to act." "That's suicide," Jinwoo protested. "They'll kill you the moment you show up." "Not if we do it right, not if we choose neutral ground and bring enough force to make treachery costly." Doyun looked at his mother. "What do you think?" Mrs. Choi was quiet for a long moment, her face unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. "Your father would have burned them out of their strongholds without negotiation, but you are not your father. If you believe peace is possible even now, then I support you trying. And if peace isn't possible, then we show them why crossing the Kang family is a mistake no one makes twice." Preparations for the meeting consumed the next week. Location was debated endlessly, finally settled on a tea house owned by a neutral third party, the Incheon Brotherhood, who agreed to guarantee safe conduct for both sides. Terms were drafted and redrafted, security protocols established. Through it all, Amara felt increasingly anxious. She'd learned enough about this world to know how these meetings could go wrong. Treachery was common, violence expected. The night before the meeting, she couldn't sleep. She paced her rooms, mind racing with worst-case scenarios, until finally she unlocked the connecting door to Doyun's suite and slipped through. He was awake, sitting by his window in sleeping clothes, a glass of whiskey in hand. He looked up when she entered, surprised but not unwelcoming. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked. "I keep thinking about tomorrow, about what could go wrong." "Everything could go wrong, that's the nature of these situations." He gestured to the chair beside him and she sat. "But doing nothing is also a choice, and I'm done being passive." "What if they kill you?" The question hung between them, stark and frightening. Doyun took a slow sip of his drink. "Then my mother becomes head of the family, and you'll be taken care of according to our marriage contract. You'll be safe, Amara. That's already arranged." "I don't care about the contract, I care about—" She stopped, unsure how to finish that sentence. What did she care about? When had Doyun become more than just the man she was obligated to? "About what?" His voice was soft, genuinely curious. "About you," she admitted quietly. "I know this started as a business arrangement. I know we're essentially strangers forced together by circumstances. But these past months, getting to know you, seeing how you try to balance honor and survival, how you care for your family even when they question you, I don't want anything to happen to you." Doyun set down his glass, turning to face her fully. "I don't want anything to happen to you either, which is why I need you to promise me something. If tomorrow goes wrong, if the serpents attack, you run. Don't try to help, don't be brave, just get to safety. Minu has orders to prioritize getting you and my mother out." "That's not fair, you don't get to ask me to just abandon you." "I'm not asking, I'm telling you as your husband, as the head of this family. Your safety matters more than mine. Why? Amara demanded, frustration and fear making her bold. Because of some debt, because I saved your mother. I'm tired of this, Doyun, tired of being treated like I'm something precious but separate, like I'm in this family but not of it. That's not. Then what is it? Tell me honestly. Why does my safety matter so much to you? Doyun stood abruptly, packing to the window, his shoulders tight with tension. When he spoke, his voice was low, strained. Because somewhere in these past 3 months you became the one good thing in my life, the one person who sees me as more than a crime boss or my father's son. You look at me like I'm just a man trying his best, and that's... He turned to face her. That's something I didn't know I needed until I had it. So yes, your safety matters. It matters more than I'm comfortable admitting. Amara's breath caught. They stared at each other across the room, the air heavy with unspoken feelings, with the weight of everything unsaid between them. She stood, crossed the distance, stopped directly in front of him. This wasn't supposed to happen, was it? We weren't supposed to actually care. No, Doyun agreed, his hand reaching up to cup her face with unexpected tenderness. We were supposed to maintain distance, stay professional. Instead, I find myself thinking about you constantly, worrying about you, wanting... He trailed off. Wanting what? Instead of answering, he kissed her. Gentle at first, almost hesitant, giving her every chance to pull away. But Amara leaned in instead, her hands finding his shoulders, anchoring herself against the rush of feeling. The kiss deepened, months of tension and unacknowledged attraction spilling over into something real and immediate. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Doyun rested his forehead against hers. This complicates everything. I know. If you want to go back to your rooms, pretend this didn't happen, I'll understand. Amara pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. What if I don't want to pretend? Then stay with me tonight. Let me hold you even if it's just for tonight. Tomorrow everything might fall apart. But tonight, can we just be two people who found something unexpected in an impossible situation? She answered by kissing him again, and this time neither pulled away. They moved to his bed, shedding clothes with trembling hands, exploring the landscape of each other's bodies with careful reverence. Making love felt like sealing a pact deeper than any marriage contract, a choice freely made rather than forced by circumstance. Afterward they lay tangled together, Amara's head on Doyun's chest, listening to his heartbeat slow and steady. Whatever happens tomorrow, Doyun murmured into her hair, I want you to know this was real, you're real, this isn't strategy or obligation anymore. I know, Amara whispered, I feel it too. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, stealing a few hours of peace before dawn arrived with all its dangers. Morning came too quickly. Amara woke to find Doyun already dressed in a dark suit, checking weapons with practiced efficiency. He caught her watching and offered a small smile. Ready for this? Not even slightly, but I'm coming anyway. I know better than to argue with you by now. He crossed to the bed, kissed her softly. Stay close to Minu, follow his orders, and remember what I said about running if things go wrong. The tea house was in a quiet neighborhood, traditional in appearance but clearly chosen for its tactical advantages. Multiple exits, open sight lines, neutral territory. The Kang family arrived in a convoy of black cars, 20 armed men establishing a perimeter while the core group entered. Inside, the Gwangju Serpent leadership was already waiting. Their boss, a scarred man named Choi, sat at the head of a low table, flanked by his lieutenants. He smiled when he saw Doyun, the expression not reaching his eyes. Kang Doyun, you've grown bold, calling this meeting. And you've grown reckless, declaring war you can't win. Doyun sat across from him, Mrs. Choi on his right, Amara on his left. The positioning was deliberate, showing unity and strength. Choi's eyes fixed on Amara. The Nigerian bride, I've heard so much about you. Tell me, do you know what you've married into? I know enough, Amara replied in careful Korean, refusing to be intimidated. I know you're the one who sent a killer after an old woman. That says more about you than any reputation could. Choi's smile hardened. Careful, girl, you're only alive because killing you would start a war even I don't want. Yet. Enough, Doyun cut in. We're here to discuss terms, territory boundaries, revenue splits, a framework for coexistence, or we can discuss what happens if you continue this aggression. Your choice. You want peace because you're weak, Choi said flatly. Your father would never have negotiated. He would have burned my organization to ash. But you're soft, trying to run a criminal empire like a legitimate business. It makes you vulnerable. My father also spent his life in constant war, always watching his back, trusting no one. He died angry and alone. I don't want that legacy, but don't mistake preference for peace as inability to wage war. Doyun's voice dropped, deadly serious. Push me, and I'll show you exactly how much of my father's son I really am. The tension in the room was suffocating. Amara felt Minyu shift slightly behind her, ready for violence. Across the table, Chul's men were equally poised. Then Chul laughed, harsh and abrupt. You've got spine, I'll give you that. Maybe there's more of your father in you than I thought. All right, Kang, I'll hear your terms, but know this, my organization is growing. We need territory, resources. You'll have to give us something real, not just promises. What followed was 2 hours of intense negotiation. Maps were spread across the table, territory lines drawn and redrawn, revenue percentages debated, enforcement protocols established. It was exhausting, tense, with moments where everything nearly collapsed into violence. But somehow, against all odds, they reached an agreement, terms that neither side loved but both could accept, a framework for peace that depended on mutual benefit rather than fear. As they stood to leave, Chul stopped Doyun with a hand on his arm. This peace, it only lasts as long as it profits both of us. The moment that changes, we're enemies again. I understand, that's the nature of our world, Doyun paused. But maybe we can build something that keeps profiting us both. That would be better for everyone. Maybe, we'll see. Chul's gaze shifted to Amara. You're lucky, girl, you found a man trying to be better than his nature. Don't let it get him killed. They left the tea house without incident, the conv pulling away smoothly. Only when they were safely back at the compound did the tension finally break. Mrs. Choi embraced Doyun tightly, pride and relief warring on her face. You did well, she said softly. Your father would have been, well, he would have been angry, but I am proud. That evening there was a celebration. The family gathered, drinking and talking, the threat of war temporarily lifted. Amara found herself surrounded by people who had once looked at her with suspicion, now treating her with something approaching acceptance. She'd been present at a pivotal moment, shown she could stand firm under pressure. Later, she and Doyun escaped to the garden, needing quiet after the chaos. We did it, Amara said, still slightly disbelieving. Peace, actual peace. For now, Doyun cautioned. Chul was right, this only lasts as long as it benefits both sides. We'll have to work constantly to maintain it. But it's possible, that's what matters, you showed it's possible. She turned to him, taking his hands. You're changing things, Doyun, slowly. But really changing them. We're changing things, he corrected. I couldn't have done this without you there. You gave me courage I didn't know I needed. They kissed, soft and sweet, and Amara felt something settle in her chest, a sense of belonging she hadn't felt since leaving Nigeria. This strange, dangerous world had somehow become home. I love you, she said, the words surprising her even as she spoke them. I don't know when it happened, but I do, I love you. Doyun's expression transformed, vulnerability and joy mixing together. I love you too. God help me, I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, we can be terrified together. They stood there in the moonlight, holding each other, two people who had found something genuine in the most unlikely circumstances. But peace, as they would learn, was always fragile in their world. 2 months later, everything changed. Amara was reviewing financial reports in the family office when Minyu burst in, his usually composed face showing alarm. Where's Doyun? Meeting with the accountants. Why, what's wrong? It's Chul, he's dead, assassinated 2 hours ago in Busan. Minyu's jaw tightened. And evidence is pointing to us, someone's trying to reignite the war. Amara's blood ran cold. That's not possible, Doyun would never. I know, but the serpents won't care about truth. They'll want revenge and they'll come for all of us. Minyu was already moving, pulling out his phone. We need to lock down the compound, get everyone inside, now. The next hours were chaos. Family members were gathered, security tripled. Doyun returned, his face grim, immediately taking charge. He tried reaching out to the serpent leadership, but no one would take his calls. It's a setup, he said during an emergency meeting. Someone wants us at war. Someone benefits from both organizations tearing each other apart. But who? Mrs. Choi asked. I don't know yet, but we'll find out. His eyes met Amara's across the table and she saw fear there. Not for himself, but for her, for his mother, for everyone he'd worked so hard to protect. That night, as they lay in bed unable to sleep, Amara held Doyun close. "We'll figure this out, we'll prove you're innocent. And if we can't, if the serpents attack before we find the truth, then we survive together like we always do." Doyun kissed her forehead, pulling her closer. "I'm sorry I brought you into this world. Don't be, I chose to stay, remember I choose you, every day I choose you." They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other's arms, unaware that across the city, forces were already moving, that the fragile peace they'd built was about to shatter, that the real enemy was closer than anyone suspected. And that by morning, everything would change again. If you're hooked on Amara and Doyun's story and want to know what happens next, hit that subscribe button now. Will they discover who's framing them before the serpents strike? Can their love survive when the enemy is revealed? Drop your theories in the comments below and smash that like button to support more stories like this. Part 2 is coming soon, but only if you want it. Let me know. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the real betrayal is finally revealed.